Okay. So here, I will... Should I share my screen? Okay, I'll share my screen. Just doing this in my math OneNote. But let me give you guys a couple more responses to my case. So let me see. So as a quick review, actually, let me just share my screen. Okay. So as a quick review, my contention one is miscalculation. Basically, like, because the US is the first use, everyone else was scared of us, so China and Russia like could or like other countries could accidentally think that we might nuke them, so then they'll nuke us first, and that would lead to billions of deaths. My contention two is saving us from wars, and my subpoint A is that China is like moving away from its NFU and it's making a bunch of nukes, which is bad because that would lead to a US-China nuclear arms race. And that's bad because that would lead to a South China Sea arms race, and like a bunch of people would get nukes, which obviously increases chance of nuclear war. And then the subpoint B is Iran. It's basically that Iran is nuclearizing right now because it feels threatened by the US, but getting rid of a US first strike means that Iran would stop nuclearizing. And Iranian nuclearization is bad because Israel would nuke it, which would kill millions of people. Third is North Korea, that like North Korea and America have super high tensions because the US doesn't want, like, the US doesn't want to take the first step in conceding something to make North Korea come to the negotiation table, but the NFU would be like the first step. And then that would save 10 million people in North Korea because like we have sanctions on them, so their economy is doing really bad, so a bunch of people are starving. But if we could reach a nuclear deal, that means these people would like not be starving anymore. So what I would say in response to my contention one is that first, this calculation has never happened empirically, right? Because like empirically, because no one has like ever died from a nuke accidentally, right? Like when we nuked Japan, it was on purpose. There's never been like an accidental nuke. So like it's never happened empirically, and it's never gonna happen in the future, because it's just miscalculation, but it doesn't mean it actually means someone launches nukes. Second, I would say hotlines solve because we can call each other and make sure we're not sending nukes. And then yeah, I'll just say those two. And then for against China, right? First, I would say that, let's see. China is moving away from its no first use because the US has ballistic missiles in the South China Sea, which threatens its nuclear arsenal. So, and it's not because of nukes. So China will continue to nuclearize. Okay. So basically, what the case says is that China is nuclearizing because it's afraid of U.S. like first use, but in reality, what my response is that China is moving away from no first use because the U.S. has like ballistic missiles, which are like not nukes, they're just like bombs, like normal bombs, near China, and then like the U.S. could use these missiles to like destroy China's nukes, and China feels threatened, so they're trying to make more nukes. So like even if the US destroys some, they still have more. And then on Iran, I would say that Iran is only nuclearizing because it wants a nuclear deal with the US. Right? Because like Iran's been building a nuclear bomb for a long time, but like it hasn't reached anything, right? So I would say there's another reason for why Iran is nuclearizing, and that's because it wants a nuclear deal, not that it actually wants a nuke. So they'll never like build a nuke. They'll just like pretend like they're trying to nuke. America will feel threatened and they can bargain with it. So against North Korea, I would say an NFU doesn't mean a nuclear deal actually passes because Kim Jong-un doesn't care about America and does whatever he wants. And then North Korea would never invade South Korea because the US has military bases. Okay. So, yeah. Did you guys get those responses down?
Wait, we were supposed to write them down?
Yes. Okay. Do that right now. But please write this down. Because what's gonna happen next is you guys, well, you don't have to write it down actually. Y'all can just stare at my and Ethan's responses on here. What you guys are gonna do next is make a rebuttal to this rebuttal. So now pretend that you are F and you want to respond to what you just said. So, for example, I just said all of these random things, and then let's say I'm gonna try to respond to Iran, right? Iran is only nuclearizing because it wants to deal with the U.S. I would say no. Our evidence is really specific in saying that the only reason why the U.S. is nuclearizing is because the U.S. has a first strike, right? So, like, you can say whatever you want that like Iran is only doing this for XYZ reasons, but our evidence is like super explicit. So, okay. So, I'm gonna give you guys 15 minutes to make this rebuttal. So, no, actually 10 minutes. Yeah. So 10 minutes to make responses to what you said. So, respond to yourself. Good luck, guys.
We're responding to your thing, right? The thing you wrote.
Yeah, and also what Ethan wrote last time. So, this stuff in black. Sorry, the font is kind of ugly.
So you respond both?
Yes, respond to both. Because, like, this is both, like, all of this is attacking the app case. So now you're going to try and protect the app case.
Do we need to find like sources from the internet?
You can if you want to, but you don't need to. I'd recommend trying to make it analytically. But if you really have no ideas, you should probably search it up. Okay, y'all, time is up. So, who wants to go first? Do we have any volunteers? No? Okay. Well, I think Ethan went first last time, so wait, or did William go first?
I went first last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. So Ethan is going to go first this time.
Okay. Do I have to read it?
Yes, please read it.
Okay. My opponent said that if the NFU did not occur, the US would rule others by fear, but this is not the right way of stopping an accidental nuclear. An NFU policy would be more right and a safe way to decrease the chance of a nuclear war than ruling by fear. You also said that tensions between China and America would always be bad, but this is not true. Tensions are only bad because of the current bad trade and the coronavirus, and once these disputes are settled with the US and China will not dislike each other as much. You said that Iran is also not a powerful country, and you said that if Iran nuked someone, it wouldn't do much damage, but one nuke can kill over 151,000 people. This can lead to a nuclear war which would kill over 335 million people. But if there was an NFU policy, Iran would stop making nuclear weapons and would far likely fire nuclear weapons because they feel no threat from the US, saving millions of lives. You also said that miscalculation has never happened empirically, but during these times of coronavirus and Donald Trump, there's more mistrust than usual between the countries. There is a first time for everything, and a miscalculation nuke is definitely possible. You also said that we can call each other and make sure we're not sending nukes. But if a country that really hates the US is really sending nukes, there is a small chance that they would tell the truth. Calling other countries for the truth is a very ineffective way to stop nukes.
Okay, great. Did you respond to the rest, like China, Iran, and North Korea?
No, I couldn't.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that was a really good rebuttal. You made a lot of really good points. I think I would have made as well. Especially, I really like your miscalculation analysis. That like just because it didn't happen yet, it doesn't mean like it won't happen in the future. And tensions are especially bad right now. Okay, William, it's your turn.
Ethan's is like I couldn't like do the whole thing.
That's okay.
Okay. You said that since U.S. is number one in the power in the world, like many countries like want to have an alliance. I mean, they're just like scared so they won't nuke him. But like if the but then if an NFU does occur, never mind. So China and US are like in a bad relationship right now, but then after like as tensions get resolved, like right now tensions are high because of coronavirus and other things, but after coronavirus, then the tensions could be resolved and like they could not nuke each other. So like for the North Korea one, like you said that North Korea would never invade South Korea, but because they have U.S. military bases there. But even if North Korea did invade South Korea, North Korea would be able to like nuke the U.S. back because like North Korea has been producing a lot of nukes. Like that's pretty much all I got. That's really bad.
Okay, that's not bad. That's very good too. Okay, so let's go over these responses. So, what was I gonna say? Right. First, when we're looking at right, this idea that like not the right way of stopping an accidental nuclear strike, NFU is morally better and safer, right? Like that's a really good point to make, that like fear probably leads to more miscalculation if you think about it, right? Like why do we miscalculate? Because we're like afraid that someone will attack us. But if you're with like really good relationship with someone, right, you probably won't have like any miscalculation, because you're like, yeah, like I trust you and you trust me, and like, you know, we have this NFU and you're not gonna nuke me, so I'm not gonna nuke you, right? So that probably decreases miscalculation more than it increases. What I would say against this part, that tensions are only bad because of current trade and corona, is that that's like, I would say that's like a really good response. I would say that's true, but I think this could also destroy your own case, right? Because basically what my case says is that right now tensions are bad between the US and China. And if we let these tensions continue, that means that there's going to be like, you know, this whole nuclear arms race, and it's going to be super bad because of XYZ, right? But what you guys are saying is that tensions are only bad because of corona and trade, right? So that means that it will go away naturally. So we don't need an NFU, right? So this kind of like destroys your own case, because you're trying to say NFU is the only way to solve for these tensions. But then here you're saying that tensions are only happening because of like corona, but obviously corona is going to go away someday, right? So I would say that you probably would want to try to avoid a response like this, because it'd probably take out your own case. Yeah, and then I would say the hotlines argument is probably true, right? Like, there's no reason why you can't lie over in a hotline, and like we probably won't even trust each other anyways with a hotline. So the only way to solve is like an NFU. Yeah. Okay. So this was pretty good. For like, you know, like this is a hard topic, and like all these like geopolitical things, and this is like, you know, your first time like giving a rebuttal. So I would say that's like pretty good for first time frontlining. So what I want to do now is I ever show you guys my block file? Oh, I did. I don't know if you remember. Okay, how about this? Can you guys send the links to your contentions in the chat, so I can look at your edits for this week?
Oh, and my Google Doc has everything we did in like one big thing.
That's okay. Do you send a link? I think my Teams is broken. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I just sent it because like I was checking it.
Okay. So I'm looking at Ethan's right now. Yes, this is amazing. I love how you changed it. It's great. But I think last time we said that we should put solvency in the middle, because we want to end with like this really strong 335 million people. So I would put this right here, because you already kind of like say like if the US has an NFU, it'd be good for XYZ, and then you could just give your evidence like right after that, and that'd be really good. Right, this is beautiful. Okay, I really like that. What about you, William? Can you send? Yeah.
Okay. I sent the invitation. Oh wait, let me just send the link. It might work, but it might not.
Great.
Oh, I didn't change that part. Oh my.
Yes. Yeah, this is good. Yeah. I think the changes you made are also.
Hey,
All right, now that we have an av case, what I want you guys to do is to write a neg case, a neg contention. Sorry, not a case, right? So I prefer if y'all did different contentions. So let me give you guys a couple of contention ideas. So we have, first, okay, so I would say, yeah, okay, so let me like go here, right? So neg contention ideas. So do you guys have any ideas, like first of all by yourselves, as to why an NFU would potentially be bad? Remember, I read you guys like my case.
It's really fake. I don't know if this will be strong, but like NFU can make the U.S. look weak.
Yes, that's great. That's great. So NFU means US looks weak. Yes. Okay. Any other ideas? Come on, y'all. I believe in you. Like, remember, I read you my case, and then, what would happen to our alliances if we got an NFU?
they would be protected? Or no?
If we got a no first use, what would happen to our alliances? This is neg, so we're trying to say that NFU is bad.
Wait, doesn't NFU like apply for like your country and your alliance's country?
It could also only apply to your country. So
If then you can't help them out like if they're
exactly. So
in trouble.
NFU means we can't protect. All right. Any other ideas? Okay, so how about this? Let's think of like more specific scenarios, right? So, who is the US protecting right now? That could
Korea?
potentially, yeah, South Korea, exactly. Who else? Yeah.
Saudi Arabia? Or
Yes, that's right, Saudi Arabia. Who else? Think, who are we best buddies with?
Israel?
Facts. Anyone else?
I'm not sure, but is it UK?
Yes, we're in alliance with UK. Keep going. Just like randomly shout out countries you can guess.
Canada?
Canada? We don't have a formal agreement, but yeah, I would say we probably protect Canada. Who else?
Japan.
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
France.
Yep. Here, I'll list a couple more. Okay, so we also have Taiwan, Turkey, who else is in
Germany?
NATO? Germany, yes.
Australia.
Australia. Wow, we're friends with a lot of countries. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's enough to think about. Okay. So there are all of those. And then let's think about, okay, so who are enemies of the US that would be happy if the US begins to look weak?
Or North Korea.
Yeah. I heard Iran,
China.
China,
Russia.
exactly. Anyone else who hates our guts? I think that's about it. Yeah. They're like our biggest threats, I would say. So yeah. And then so those are basically the two biggest ideas, right? So one is allied proliferation, that basically, or some impact of allies, right? So for example, for South Korea, most South Koreans want to make their own nukes, but US nuclear umbrella security guarantee means they don't. But NFU takes that protection away. South Korea builds nukes into war or conflict with North Korea or perhaps China. For Saudi Arabia, Saudi dependent on US nuke umbrella. NFU means no first strike. Saudi Arabia builds nukes or starts proxy wars. If Saudi builds nukes, other countries near it, like Iran and Israel, would nuclearize, increasing chance of nuke war. And the thing with Israel is that they have their own nukes, so I would say it doesn't really matter what the US does. So UK also has their own nukes. Canada, let's see, is Canada part of NATO? The thing with Canada though is that like if you think about Canada, they really have like no one hates them. They literally like don't even matter, right? Like they have like bacon and like maple syrup and they don't offend anyone. They're just like their own country, right? Like they don't fight with anyone really. So I would say there's no reason even if they lost US protection, there's no one who really wants to like attack them. So I would say there's little chance of Canada trying to do anything, even if the US has an NFU. With Japan, I would say its biggest threat is China and North Korea because they're both two like countries which are hostile to the U.S. Oh, and they both have nukes, right? And then so the same thing with the others, right? So Japan relies on our first use. NFU equals Japan nukes, right? France, they also have their own nukes. So I would say it's hard to quantify an impact there. For Taiwan, I would say NF so first use protects Taiwan from China, right? Because the thing is, China's always wanting to like take over Taiwan and like take it back, right? Because like they're like yeah, like Taiwan's part of China. And regardless of like whether you believe that or not, like China believes that, so they're going to try and do that, right? And so basically, if the U.S. looks weak, China will invade Taiwan, leading to a war and global economy bad, right? And then also, it could mean that Taiwan builds nukes, which means China, Taiwan, right? Now, Turkey is interesting because it's protected by U.S., under NATO, right? And then Russia is a threat to Turkey because it's already like taking over a bunch of like places near Turkey. Because if we look at like a map, so here's Turkey. So Turkey's right here. And like Turkey and Russia have like pretty bad relationships. And this is like all of this is like Russia, like all the way down here, right? So the thing about Russia is that like it loves to take over other countries, right? So recently it invaded Ukraine and it's like taking over Ukraine right now, right? And like see how close Ukraine is to Turkey. So and like this border between Russia and Turkey is like also very like dangerous as well, right? So obviously like Turkey seeing that Ukraine got invaded would probably be pretty scared. And if the US took away their first commitment, like nukes, and like Russia has nukes, right? Turkey would be pretty scared and probably view it as like, the US is abandoning us. And the thing with Turkey is that the Russia also has like troops in Syria. So not only could it like, come through the top probably here to Turkey or like fly troops from like Ukraine to Turkey, like Syria, it has troops in Turkey, Syria. So Russia could like easily just cross the border from Syria to Turkey, right? And like, between the Turkey-Syria border, there have been like conflicts between Turkey and Syria, but like parts of the Syrian troops are like backed up by Russia, right? So it's kind of like a Russia, Turkey, Syria like kind of war, right? So Turkey feels threatened by that. Syrian border, right? Ukraine example. So then Turkey either like gets invaded and no one does anything, which like kills people, or Turkey builds a nuke, which would start a regional arms race because, like, I would say countries like Ukraine, perhaps, and Iran, Saudi Arabia would try to build nukes because they're pretty close, and nukes like can launch pretty far. Like, see, they're like right here, right? So they'd start getting nukes, and then that increases again chance of nuke war. And then I would say for Germany, the same impact scenario here, right? They're also threatened by Russia. So Russia. I would say Australia. I don't know what its threat would be. Most likely is probably China. But I wouldn't be sure. So I think the strongest cases you're looking at would be South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, and Turkey. The reason why I say this is because, we talked about Israel, UK, like they don't really have any enemies or they have their own nukes, right? Same thing with France. The thing about Japan is that they have like a constitutional like thing, which is like you can't build nukes, right? Because like after World War II, the US is like, you're never gonna build nukes because we don't want you to get nukes and nuke us back, right? So they kind of like have a constitution against having nukes like that, and they don't even have a military. So I'd say it's pretty hard for them to get nukes. So I would say like Japan is probably not one of your stronger choices. And Germany and Australia, I don't know as much about these two. They probably could be strong cases, but I'm not sure, right? But I've seen cases on these four, and I would say they're pretty strong. So you can write cases about these four. And then NFU means like US looks weak, right? And I think for these impact scenarios, you can just say how, so for example, US doesn't protect South Korea, North Korea invades or attacks conventionally against South Korea, right? Because like if the U.S., right now the U.S. is first use, which means I can nuke you no matter what you do, right? Like if you invade or if you use like a chemical weapon or you like put a plague in South Korea or you do X, Y, Z, like no matter what you do, I can nuke you. But with the no first use, like as long as North Korea doesn't like use nukes against South Korea or against America, like the U.S., like if it were to keep its pledge, wouldn't be able to attack North Korea, right? So North Korea could, use a chemical weapon against South Korea, or perhaps, use a conventional attack or like a normal military attack, right? And the U.S. wouldn't be able to protect them, so obviously millions would die. Or perhaps North Korea decides to use nukes, right? And that would obviously kill a lot of people too. And then Iran, if the U.S. looks weak and the U.S. gets an NFU, Iran continues to nuclearize, right? Or it tries to attack, Saudi Arabia or take over more countries regionally, right? Because the U.S. like nukes is one of like the biggest deterrents against like trying to do anything, right? Like, hey, if you try to do anything bad, I'll just nuke you. China, so we talked about Taiwan, right? Like if it thinks US is weak, equals Taiwan invasion, right? Or perhaps, there's a bunch of like random islands near China in the South China Sea. Because, China wants to gain like global hegemony and that'd be pretty bad. Russia invades Baltic states. If you guys don't know what those are, you can just search that up later. But they could invade the Baltic states. Invade Turkey. They can invade NATO members, right? Because the U.S. first means that if Russia doesn't use a nuke, Russia can do whatever it wants, and the U.S. can't use a nuke against it, right? So Russia would also be a threat. So what I want you guys to do is pick one. I would say all of these examples right here are actually really good. I would say they're all probably pretty true. So what I want you guys to do is pick one from here and pick one from there. So who wants to pick first?
Wait, so we picked two?
Yeah, pick two. So pick one from like this allies and then pick one from enemies.
I picked South Korea.
Who said that?
William.
William? All right, William can get this. All right. And then Ethan, what do you want?
Saudi Arabia.
Okay, good choice. All right, William, what do you want from up top?
North Korea.
North Korea. All right, and then Ethan, what do you want?
Iran.
Iran. Great. All right. So I'll be looking for those from y'all next week. Y'all can like change your topic anytime you want if you like think that yours, if you're researching and you're like this is too hard, right? You could always switch to something else. But just make sure what I don't want you guys to do is like make the same contention, right? Like I don't want you to both be doing North or something. So yeah, just get 2 contentions to me next week. Okay, I'll be trying to check up on those. And remember, in a case you want uniqueness, link solvency impact, right? So so uniqueness, what's happening right now that is causing a problem, right? Link is how does whatever's in your case lead to a problem. Solvency is how does NFU solve, right? And then impact is impact of the problem. So let me just run you through one of these. Let's say I'm writing one on Turkey, right? So uniqueness would be like, okay, what's happening right now that is causing a problem, right? Like you can't just like, you know, most people don't have background knowledge on Turkey. It's like not something that most people think about. So you're gonna have to like establish some context for your judge, right? So you're what I would say is that like right now there's a Syrian civil war and Russia is in, so uniqueness is Syrian war, Russia in Syria, and then like Russian troops in Syria, and then there's been Turkey-Syria skirmishes along the border. So that just means like little fights, right? And then link is US. Okay, so link is like Turkey feels threatened by Russia, but is protected by NFU. Solvency, in this case, it would be like the opposite of solvency, like why it triggers the problem. So NFU means that Turkey isn't protected, so they feel threatened. And then the impact is like Turkey builds a nuke and leads to nuke war with Russia, which kills millions. Right, so there you go. Yeah, it doesn't have to go in this order. It can go in any order, but context should always come first. So there's a Syrian war right now, and then what I would say is like there's a Syrian war, and then because of that, Turkey feels threatened. But luckily, a first use solves, but an NFU would not solve. It would like make it worse. And then the impact, Turkey builds nuke, yada yada yada. That makes sense? Okay, so I'm gonna take a screenshot. I'm gonna paste this in the chat. Y'all can like save the picture or something. And yeah, that's it for today. So I'll see you guys next week.